Hey, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Better at Beach podcast. My name is Mark Burik, and today we are in our Coach Academy live meeting. So, if you don't know, we have the Complete Coach Academy on betteratbeach.com, and we bring in different guests each week. So, what you guys will get to hear is our full interview today with John Drake, who is the manager and operator of Grand Sands Volleyball in Loveland, Ohio. Super successful indoor facility. And with our Coaches Academy, a lot of times we do talk volleyball technique, coaching, training, and all those philosophies. But we also talk a lot about business management, how to run a team, how to run a club, maybe how to hire coaches, train staff. And so today we get to talk to John Drake, who has gone through all of that. He is a former Open player, was an AVP player, and now he's slid into the upper echelon of the volleyball world, where he is running one of the best facilities, if not the best facility in Ohio. So that's what we're talking about today. Our members get to do a live Q&A with him. So if you want to become a part of the Complete Coach Academy, all you do is go to betteratbeach.com/coach. You're going to get all of our courses, all of our strategy. You're going to get all of our practice plans, and you get one live meeting a week. And every other week, we talk to coaches exclusively. And every other week, that's when we just bring in somebody who we want to interview, who we think is going to be a great talk and a great teacher. So that's what we're doing today. John, is there like an AC going on in the background?
No.
Some kind of extra noise?
Yeah, pretty quiet here on my end.
All right.
You get really good hearing.
I just want to make sure that guests, if you can please mute everything that you have, that would be great. All right. That helped it.
All right, perfect.
Let's get into it.
Absolutely. Thanks for the very nice words as well that you had to say. And obviously, we love having you guys out every year. It's been a few years now. You're coming out, and everyone loves your group and everything like that. So it's very nice. And you're correct. I spent my younger years playing as what I could do, and then finally, when this was kind of handed to me from the previous owners and general managers of running Grand Sands, it just made sense. I got to make it. I knew it was going to cut back on my actual playing time and stuff like that, but I love it. I mean, it's a fun job. It's a fun gig to do and everything, and I love just people. Obviously, there's thousands of people that are there. I see on a weekly basis, and it's a good adjustment, and I like it. It's great.
Nice. Let's talk first about a little bit of your playing career. Okay, and then I'll want to get into the business management. So you were actually, which is crazy because you were a competitor of mine. And then you also came out to the original Better at Beach, which is Volley Camp Formosa. So we did a week, if not 2 weeks of training out here.
A week,
but you ended up with a pretty unique style with your partner, Chris Lewis. I would say that the way you guys played volleyball was significantly different in its structure than most of the other AVP teams. And I remember lower passes, lower sets, almost like you were kind of running like a 1.5 or a middle quick type offense on a lot of sets. And I just want to know if that was a choice you made, why you made that choice, and how you were able to get so much success with your partner and running your own system.
Yeah. I feel like maybe some teams kind of just underestimated us because I don't play with a guy who looks like he's 60 years old or whatever. I mean, Chris is, he's just a guru. Like, I mean, I had a handful of people teach me how to play volleyball. He taught me how to play beach volleyball. And granted, a lot of the stuff I really don't know what he was doing. He would just say, hey, go block this ball, reach, make him shoot as high as possible for the high line. I'd say, okay. And they would do that, and I'd turn around and he was there. Like, he would just run plays, and I was just kind of his puppet, but you know what? It worked. He was just, and he loved that, like that quick 1 to 2 ball set. And I think it just helped his vision, seeing the lower sets. He has his, and plus it doesn't give the defender a lot of time to figure out what they're going to do. That comes out, and boom, they already have to almost be moving to kind of get where they needed to go. So yeah, so that type of offense, and it's funny because even still, like, I don't think really anybody does it, or I don't really see anybody kind of run that type of a quicker offense like consistently every single time. And I will say that would be one of our biggest disadvantages was we're at Grand Sands, we're in a little bit of a valley, and so a windy day comes once a month kind of thing. So we don't get that practice. So when we go out, I remember the very first year we went out to Volley Camp Formosa. There was one day where it was just like I didn't want to practice because it was just so windy, and I just felt just dumb because of how different it is out there. So that was like our biggest downfalls is when we got out to the beach and there's lots of wind. That plays a huge factor in how we can run our offense because now all of a sudden, yeah, the lower passes do help, but it's just tougher. So there was our biggest accomplishment was when the FIVB was out in Huntington. It was like 2018, 2019, something like that. We qualified for that event as well, which that was a close moment between our partnership because he was just a kid in a candy store. He said that was a bucket list thing that he never thought would ever check off kind of thing. But the difference is that we qualified. I swear the water was glass. Like it was the calmest day ever. And we were able to just play our game all the way through. We make it to the main draw. And then next day, it is a very, very windy day, and it looked like we never played volleyball before. So it's just like that 9-day difference. As long as we can play with the elements of what we're used to playing, we grooved, and we qualified. I qualified. I don't remember. I think maybe like 3 ADPs with him, one more with Joe Ruzick, and then we meet him at the FIVB. So then we had a few, breakthroughs where we were able to go, and then typically that was just almost in a sense weather dependent kind of thing, with the wind being a big factor with that. But no, he was he still is. I mean, he's still competing and still beating people, and it's still so frustrating because he can just size you up, and no matter how big the blocker is, he hits it 1 inch over top of those hands every time. He's a really, really smart player.
Yeah, I would say it was super impressive to see probably one of the most undersized teams in my memory to do the damage that you guys did and to run your offense, commit to it. And I do agree that lower set, a lot of defenders wait for a moment in the set and they sit in the middle and then they wait for the set to go up and then they flash to one side. I try to get my players out of doing this. Like now, currently, I'm just saying, go directly to your spot. Do whatever jukes you want from the place where you can already dig a hard driven ball. And then they say, well, what happens if they go on 2? And my response is, on 2 is an attack just like on 3 is. So if you're not playing defense in the middle for the on 3 attack, why are you playing defense in the middle for the on 2 attack?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you do run that lower offense, if you're playing against defenders who want to sit in the middle, then as that set goes up, if it's only 1 or 2 feet above, they have to respect that hard cross or hard line. And so they make this big, quick move. And if you don't wait, if you see that movement real quick, and I think that's what Chris Lewis does really well, is sees that movement and then hits the shot away from you. And I think a lot of teams struggle with the change of timing. And when you change somebody's timing defensively, you also make them easier to see because they have to make bigger, faster moves. And now they're off balance while you're hitting. And so long as you have good vision, like the two of you guys do, you can tear teams apart on that lower set.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And he's also really good. I remember the very, very first open tournament I ever entered in. I played against Chris and a different partner at the time. And I must say it might have been even after that tournament or shortly after. I remember kind of going up to him and I just asked him how do you get so many digs? It's as dumb as that sounded or whatever. Because I was remember watching him, I felt like he just was. And it was just literally a book he opened up, and he was just eating people up and everything, and it was blowing me away. And I can still remember this day that he does a lot of. I don't know. He just analyzes people. He analyzes probabilities, like what is the tendency that somebody typically likes to do, what shot do they like to go with, and then he keeps track of that. Like his memory on stuff is pretty mind-blowing of how he can recap matches from years ago and like almost like point for point all the way through. And I mean, I don't know what I did yesterday kind of thing.
I'm the same
I mean, it's crazy.
I'm like, you remember back in 99, we played each other. It was the match after pool play, and then you hit that high line, and I go, no.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
No idea.
Yeah, and it's just, so it's one of those things too, where I'm just like, maybe he's making lots of lucky guesses and stuff like that. But then when I kind of heard him like talk about that, and then just other things, and also just through playing with him, we would be sitting there, we were walking back, and I'll be going back to serve, and he's like, and he'll be talking to me like, okay, what's he gonna do? And you hear him like just mentally talking to himself, and then finally he's like, all right, I want you to do, and he would give me something, where he literally is just every play he is just thinking on what are they going to do, not so which granted he does do a lot of reading and stuff like that too, but I honestly say that a lot of this game is just that tendencies, probabilities, what he thinks that next person's going to do, and he reads stuff just so very well. And he's getting older now. He just had his 50th birthday, and he still played this past weekend's open tournament.
So when you qualified, he was what, 43, 44, 45?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the last, because I guess we would have stopped right before like COVID shut down and everything. So I want to say maybe like 2019-ish would have been last time, about 5 years ago. Yeah, so even the mid 40s for sure. So
impressive.
Yeah, but no, he's a wizard, and it's one of those. It's like I'd hate to see him not out in the sand, in which I don't know how much longer he's got, because he definitely, is. You can tell he struggled at the end of the matches, but at the same time, I can't wait for him to not be across the net for me. It's just so annoying to play against, because it's just like I said, he just can suck you in with that little short knuckle, and then all of a sudden he's shooting it up over top of your head, and it makes it looks easy, kind of thing. But it's his vision is awesome.
What did you think, as coming from an open player in Ohio to then competing on the AVP? What do you think the main differences were between the athletes that you had to beat in quarters, semis, and finals back home, and then now the last round of qualifiers and in the AVP? What do you think separates those levels, or what's the main difference?
I would say just consistency. I mean, it's a lot of times you mess up that one point, and that's the point you lost by, kind of thing, whether it was a double on the set or you set your partner too tight, kind of thing. Those players on tour don't really make those errors, kind of thing. And I mean, because I remember there was one Manhattan Beach main draw that we were in. We were playing the Baumgren brothers, and it was I think like 17-17 or 18-18, something like that, first set. And I was thinking, holy crap, like we might have a chance to take a set, kind of thing. And because that's the one thing is that I've qualified a handful of times and never even won a set before. Gotten really close, and that was like the closest at that time. And that I think and then like they sat it out, so they're up one. I remember it was set point 2019. Chris gave me a pass, and it just moved a little bit, and I dove off and I set it, and they called a lift, and that was that one, kind of thing. And it was just like that just like killed me, kind of thing, whatever, So it's like, but ultimately, I mean, that's it. Obviously, everyone at that level is super athletic. I mean, they jump high, they hit hard. And you're right. Well, as far as we're an undersized team for sure. I was a blocker on 6'3" on a good day. Maybe not as much now. I shaved a little shorter. But that also kind of helped in a sense because I wasn't big, so I was easier to hide. I got pretty close, so I did lots of diving, so I got to get a lot of blocks and stuff like that. But I mean, really, that's just it. Just that consistency of just being able to side out and just hold your own and just wait to make that play, make that diving play to get that one block that would seal it, or hope that they made a setting error, a hitting error, kind of thing. Because I mean that was it. But at that same because locally, we're all friends. We all see each other. We play each other all the time, stuff like that. Not that we aren't out there to try to win or whatever, but a lot of times you do something where you get shit house or something like that, and then it would be like, oh, hey, good luck, and you're kind of high fiving the other team because it's like you're all just their friends, but on that pro level, it's just it's different. Everything is just way more zoned in, way more just tight. And I mean, I played better at that level and stuff too. I hadn't played a qualifier for years. I played this past Manhattan Beach Open with a local player who just moved out there, Tirmosa, Nicola. And I was kind of like, I mean, I'm in no shape or ready to like qualify for this, but I'm like, yeah, we'll just see what happens. And it wasn't until I was out there playing where I'm like, man, I miss this. It's different. It's a cool feeling just being out there with all the officials, all the other team, players and stuff like that. It's a really, really neat experience to do, and something I think if everyone has the option to do it, just do that. Sign up. Whatever, get out there. It's a pretty neat. It's on. It's hard to describe what the difference is of getting on that level versus just getting out of getting out of your comfort zone for one, just getting out of your own home facility, traveling. But yeah, it's something I miss and makes me kind of get that little itch, like you gotta try pushing again.
Maybe I'll start lifting 3 times a week and see what happens.
There's a lot of commitment that sure.
Yeah.
That's not something you go, hey, I'm bored. I don't know, let's go play this, kind of thing. I mean, you do have to definitely prep for lots of training and different things, but yeah, it's I kind of miss it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. When you talk about errors, I just saw a post about Chase Buttinger's stats in the last AVP league. 17 kills, 0 errors. And when you look at local open level, people make 2, 3, 4 hitting errors just on kind of routine plays, and you have that breathing room and it becomes easy. And I also think the patience of defense separates AVP defenders from open level defenders, where open level defenders back home in New York, where I'm from, they're like, he sees me. I have to move late. And then as soon as you move late, you're not moving late enough. And I see that. And then I have an easy shot kill. Whereas, an AVP defender will hold their ground and say, go ahead. First, let's see if you can hit a high line over my blocker and fast enough for me to catch up to it. Like, can you beat me in that race first? Okay, if you can do that 3 or 4 times in a row, then now I'm going to start showing you some jukes to see if I can get in your head and see if I can get you to delay your arm or wait till you're on your way down and give you some confusion. I just found that defenders were more patient, faster, and then as soon as you start shooting, they change their strategy. They start peeling sooner. Blockers start reaching higher instead of pressing. And that was my kind of lesson coming from New York, like in every semi or final, to that qualifier and low AVP level, just to being like, okay, they're not giving me any spots anymore. They're not just giving it away. Now they're sitting there and they're saying, come on, let's see if you're good enough.
Yeah, I guess that's actually, to go off that too, is the effort you put into every jump is as well. Like there's a lot of times, you kind of get there and you're like, all right, easy to say, I'm just going to kind of just go up, hit a high line kind of thing. But when you're there, if you don't max jump, that high line is getting swatted, or that high line is, getting tipped up, and then defenders there to, to kind of pop it up or something or the other. So yeah, it's just, there is no, I'm going to turn it dial down a little bit, have a little breather. Every point is full go, full send. Every peel off the net for that, if you're trying to peel back as a blocker, I mean, same thing. I might kind of get away with backing up, backpedaling a little bit, early, whereas there I got to go full down squat and just turn and go and run to be able to chase those shots down. So definitely has a lot, and in even that sense of it too, the amount of energy that you exert at that level. Going back to like the FIVB qualifier, I remember we had a 1 match on a Wednesday. That was the USA qualifier, and we won that one. So we made it to Thursday, and we had to play, I feel like there was maybe one more USA team, then we had to play a team from Poland, and then one from Norway. It was just 3 matches. And back home, like the Cincy tournaments here, I mean, we're used to playing 5, 6, matches in a day. I think some might have even kind of hinted towards even 7 matches. Just doing that 1 match that Wednesday and those 3 matches on Thursday. By the time Friday rolled around, like I was exhausted. Like it was, just because of that, because you're just everything, your adrenaline, everything was just running and pumping. And even though like some of those games even went in two, weren't even like really that long matches, I was wiped out. When I was going to bed like Thursday night kind of thing. And not only, like I said, you have to just put in 100% every single point, but just everything is just working on such a high level that it does kind of wear on you a little bit more. Whereas I could come here, play 4 or 5 matches, and then afterwards it's like, all right, what bar are we going to? We go hang out, we go drinking and stuff, kind of thing. So
yeah, and especially the pool play matches. If you've got the talent and you're already like built, like you're one of the athletes, one of the ones who is trained until you become consistent, then there are teams that you just kind of can sleep through. You kind of just coast, and you'll see the AA players that are just trying open for the first time. You put a knocking on them. But I think, yeah, the fact that morning of, and especially you're amped up in an AVP, right? You're warm up, you're like warming up harder than ever. There's 200 people watching you in warm up. So you're like, I'm going to bounce this. And so you're kind of wasting a full match in between matches, which eventually that adrenaline settles down a little bit. And you realize like, okay, let me relax on this warm up and let me use it for the game. But yeah, that when you're winning tournaments, when you get to that level, because you've trained, because you've put it in, and because you've decided I'm one of the 4 to 6 athletes in my region that actually shows up and runs drills. I'm putting in hours every day as opposed to just going and playing. When you become that player, then you start seeing that you can coast through some teams because they don't have that consistency that you've built up through getting an extra 300 high lines that week or an extra 300 passes because you actually just said, hey, let's receive for 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, we are running low on time, but what I do want to talk about is facility operations. From somebody who came as a player and then now you are in a management role in a big facility, Grand Sands, Loveland, Ohio. So how many courts indoor do you have? How many outdoor courts do you have? And do you remember how the owner acquired it and how they fitted volleyball courts into it?
So it was, the initial building was a lumberyard that they knew it was somebody knew, or actually one of the owners does live in Loveland. So I believe, he was kind of the person who knew of a building. They went and checked it out, saw the square footage, realized, hey, we could fit, 5 indoor sand courts in here. So basically that's what they did. There was 3 total investors that went in on purchasing the location. Kevin Westerkamp, who was the general manager and part owner, he was the one who had the foresight of the vision of doing that. There was one place in northern Kentucky that had just 2 indoor sand courts. So it was connected to a bowling alley. You had to walk through that and lots of smoke and stuff, and everything. It just was kind of gross, but it was just, hey, there's indoor sand courts, where you can drive 30, 40 minutes to go to it, and it worked. But that was just the vision that you at least saw, and I was like, hey, it exists, so why can't we just make it bigger and better? So he found the investors who found the location, gutted it out, put in the 5 indoor courts. And then we started playing through that winter, that fall and winter. And then come spring, they were already working on breaking the outside ground for 5 outdoor courts as well. So then by that spring, then we all moved outside. So then it was just back and forth, rain or shine. And then it stayed at 5 and 5 for a handful of years. I want to say it might have been like 5-ish or so years. And then we just maxed out on space and we needed more, so they brought in somebody, looked at the lay of the land, mapped it all out, saw where we could add 2 more indoor courts, and created a bigger bar as well. And then also was plenty of space to add in 2 more outdoor courts. So we now currently have 7 inside, 7 outside.
Wow.
Could go probably 10 inside, 10 outside if we had the space for it, but we're just maxed out on that right now. I have well over 100 teams sitting on my wait list to get in for leagues and stuff.
Sitting on a wait.
Yeah, just the wait list, across the board between all, which we run leagues Sunday through Friday. Saturdays are for tournaments, work parties, graduation parties, bar mitzvahs. I mean, literally just anything you can think of. And yeah, I mean, it's busy. It's pretty much nonstop all the way through. And we redid our parking lot recently just to kind of even maximize that, because we were kind of running. That was a big part of it, where we would like to be able to run like all 14 courts in a way if we could, but we just don't have the parking to bring in that many people. So now we're able to add about 40 more parking spots, expanding it and just painting the lines a little differently and everything like that. So now we comfortably are fitting everybody in there, and I'm trying to run all my outdoor leagues with some indoor courts and stuff for still at least utilize them for people who want to come in for open play or different things like that. So but yeah, no, it's booming.
I'd say that's the biggest thing. I didn't realize it, so I went with an architect and a hotelier, and when I mapped out how much space that I would need, I did a little math, like, okay, how much space does a volleyball court take? All right, it's 26 feet by 26 feet, but really you want 30 feet by 30 feet, and then at least 10 feet on the end lines. So now you're up to 80 feet long, and then probably 10 feet on each sideline is friendly enough. And so then you're at 80 by 50, right? And that's one court. And so when I started looking at acreage and everything, the guy who I was working with, he just instantly doubled it. And I was like, whoa, I don't need that much. He goes, it's a business. You have to have enough parking for what your business can sustain. And so the amount of court space was the same amount of space that you needed for parking. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that. And so I think ATX Beach in Austin, this is another one. And I think this is the way to go. And this is the way that a lot of people do, is instead of building from scratch and going through all of that financial strain and paying interest before you generate revenue, a lot of people find buildings where it works. And then you put that sand in there, because it's expensive to build a place, expensive to then pave a parking lot and then do the electricity from scratch. And you're probably waiting 6 months to a year just to get your building set up and all coded and everything. Where if you buy something that's pre-existing, okay, now get sand in there. Once you got sand and poles, you can start generating revenue, and that can happen within 2-3 weeks. And so you're covering at least some of the early interest payments if you've taken a loan to do it.
Yeah, I remember that. I do remember that. It was when the doors, because I showed up to Grand Sands like day one, as soon as they opened up for leagues, and been there ever since. And this November is going to be 15 years that we've been up and running. So I started out there day one as referee, I think 2 or 3 nights a week for a while, and then just over quite a few years later, that's when they were like, well, would you want to manage this night? Take league fees and make sure everybody shows up, and all that kind of fun stuff, and run the tournaments and different things. And then it just kind of slowly snowballed until finally they were like, hey, no, we don't want to do this for forever. We're ready to retire, and then it kind of got handed off to me. But I do remember that at the very beginning, coming in, and a lot of the wood benches and stuff like that, railings and everything like that, still weren't like painted or anything. It was just a lot of stuff, but nobody cared. Like everyone just wanted to get in there and just get on the sand, especially during.
Right? You just want to play. So even if you don't have the chairs or the bar set up, or some paint isn't finished, so what? Like in my business, there have been so many rough drafts that we've put out and said go, and the rough draft, putting that out into the world, it allows you to actually get more feedback. And a lot of software developers and app developers, they know this, like send out your first draft, ask people what's wrong. And then you're not stuck with 1 or 2 people trying to figure out everything that's wrong. Now you've gotten all that feedback. So long as you're honest with them and you say like, hey, this isn't our finished product. We want you to help us make it great. So let us know what else you need. Of course, you want to have a roadmap But I think it's super important to just not demand perfection from the very start, because that just slows you down hardcore. And then the more you slow down, if it's a business or you've taken a loan or you're paying for rent or mortgage, you're trying to be perfect while your bank account is getting empty. Instead of, okay, we got a fours league. Yeah, we got no chairs. Yeah, okay, we got no ball nets. But you guys can play volleyball. Great.
Yeah, no, for sure. And also go off your point, there is Cincinnati Sand Volleyball. They are another currently an outdoor facility. That was kind of like one of the main places that people played quite a few years ago for all the open tournaments and different things. And it's where I very first ever started playing sand volleyball at as well. And they are in the building process of just moving a little bit. I mean, they're only 15 minutes away or so from Grand Sands. And they are moving from that location and are building a 7 indoor, 7 outdoor facility from ground up. And I mean, part of me is like, I can't wait for it to happen just so I can help push off quite a few teams I have, texting me month after month after month. When are we going to get in? When are we going to get in? Kind of thing, whatever. Because, but it'd be nice for that to be done. But they have been just running into those building permit issues and codings and different things like that. And they were, I'm not really sure actually what the current progress is, but I already know that it is quite a few months behind. And I mean, granted, it's one of those, like, they still have their outdoor facility. They had to reopen it back up and are running the leagues there and stuff while they are behind on the building process for it. But from that, even from Kevin talking about even just Grand Sands in general, there were some hiccups that they ran into, that some little things that they didn't think about, that they were hit with, even from the expansion of the second part of the building, different things that they had to account for and pay for to get put in that they didn't know. I mean, some were some pretty large ticket items. So it is massively faster and easier if you do have an existing location where you can, like I said, just go in and just, renovate it, make it the way you need it to be, rather than start from square one. But nice thing is, though, if you can start from square one, it's what you want it to be. So there are some things with Grand Sands where we wish that their beams weren't in certain spots over the top of the courts or whatever. It'd be a lot nicer if we had a little more space for things like that, or the layout be a little bit nicer. But the main place, people love it. We get a lot of people coming in from out of town. I think we even had somebody from California come in this past weekend. We have guys from almost all of our open tournaments. We have people from a bunch of people came out from Michigan, Indianapolis, Atlanta. I mean, it's pretty cool just to look at the crowds. Despite, even though it might not be the most perfect facility, it's still a great facility, and just the competition that we have around it is also a big thing that draws people in.
Yeah, and you play volley. And the thing is, so my theory on this and belief is that if you're going to start a sand facility, you need enough courts to where you can build a community. And if you have 2 courts, to me, that's like a hobby. Or if you're just running an exclusive coaching program in something like Florida or California, where there are enough beach players who just want private lessons, or a small club, okay, that's one way. But if you don't have enough courts, people can't just go to the facility and hang out, right? It's like, oh no, those 2 courts are going to be taken and it's not my level. And even when they do walk in, like a beginner walks in and they see all the high level players, and they'll never come back because they go, there's no one there that's my level. But when you see 7, 14 courts, you start counting, you're like, oh, there's somebody like me. There's somebody like me. And plus you're hanging out because there might be 40, 50, 100 people there. And if you're young and single, or you're just social, like, there's enough people there for you to make friends with and just spend time there, so that you can, for the business at least, maybe make some extra money on the beer and alcohol sales or the food sales and anything like that. So that leads me into my next question. I do believe that you need minimum 4 courts to really build something strong. That's what I think. And when I build my facility, we're going to aim at minimum at that. But how much, I don't know how much you're hardcore into your books, but if you could give a percentage on how much of a percentage of your revenue comes from birthday parties and corporate events, just beer sales, just food sales, and then leagues, and I imagine most of your leagues are 4s and 6s.
They are, yeah. We did have a decent amount of 2s leagues across the board, but they've just kind of slowly dwindled out. And then from a business perspective, I was like, well, I don't really want to kind of push to try to get more 2s teams to take up space, so I kind of let them just fade out, and now fill them with more 4s and 6s. And yeah, and that's been for the most part across like the board on really almost like every night. There's almost all of the offerings on all of our nights. We have our men's leagues, men's 4s, the co-ed 4s, the co-ed 6s. We do have some women's doubles, men's doubles. So we do have a pretty good variety of everything offered across the board. I'm not the person who does all the books, but I can at least say that I know what drives in everything. Kind of from the top and bottom would be the top would just be all of our league fees and everything that we're getting from all of the teams. That's the biggest thing that brings in all the money. Because also that's one thing that doesn't fluctuate. That's just that we know we're going to get this amount of money every time, kind of thing.
You run 6-week sessions.
The what?
You run 6, 8-week sessions. 4 weeks.
It is a total of 8 weeks. There is like the bye week in there, so it technically might be around like 9 weeks, but everyone's actually physically playing 8 weeks on that. I do. So I do know our league fees would be at the top. Second, right under that, which I know it's not that much farther under it, would be our bar sales. So we do definitely do a lot on the bar. I would layer it as league fees, bar sales, kitchen sales. Because we have a very wide range of food offered on our menu. And then after that would be people running out the facility for, like I said, like work events, birthday parties, different things. That would be just the one, because that's not always a consistent. That's just random stuff here and there as it kind of comes through. And it's one thing I've thought about, like trying to maybe reach out and go to and target a little bit. Would be more corporate size events and stuff like that. One that kind of changed, or the one that kind of brought in a new. Just the idea of like, this looks like this could be kind of big would be Kroger. Kroger came in and they wanted to do an employee appreciation tournament, and this is now going to be coming up on their 3rd year in a row where they've come to us, and basically they come in and they use our facility from 9 to 5, basically. They come in where the hours where we really aren't open. We don't open for leagues until 6:20. So from 9 to 5, they come in and they just I run everybody through. It's about 25 teams of 6s on a Tuesday, 25 teams of 6s on a Wednesday, and then Thursday. And they take the top 2 teams from each of those days, and they come in the following week and then do a big playoff tournament. And it's pretty. I mean, it's big. It's Kroger, so they put on a big show and they do a pretty big thing with it. And that's kind of one of those things that could be kind of a pretty neat to reach out and find those bigger, Procter and Gamble or Ecolab, just Walmart. I mean, anybody really that's like big, and just say, hey, this is like a setup that they did. This is how we can do it for you. Would you guys want to come in and do this? And then, it's just team bonding for them. So
yeah. I think the corporations that are willing to spend, the big ones, big companies, like going to small companies when you've got 7 courts or 14 courts to fill, that's a little bit tougher. But I know that Corey Seeger from White Sands and Seeger Sandbar, they've done this several times now, where they hired some up and coming DJs and musical artists, and they made their place into a concert venue for a day and a night. And they set up different stages for that, and it's tens of thousands of dollars in one day. Like I think, I'm not sure if I'm right, but I think he was saying he was bringing in 6 figures for a one-day event when you bring in the right DJ. And like for that DJ, you already have to pay 10 to 20,000 depending on how successful they are.
Right.
But running I always think it's cool. When I was in college, we had one frat house, I think, and they covered their basement in sand and they called it a luau. And they probably ruined the house for whoever owned it, but it was so sweet. And the idea of, you're in Ohio and we're going to a luau type concert or rave or whatever. I've always thought that would be one of the major things that could serve as pops, like little revenue pops, if you can do it once a quarter or something like that. And if you do that right and you turn it into some type of big event venue plus volleyball. Of course, now you're running, that's a totally different business. So you either need another employee or another 4 employees to be able to handle the marketing, sales, fulfillment, everything like that.
Yeah, but I'll take my vacation that week.
What's that?
Yeah, that'll be the week I take my vacation. Like, all right, you guys have fun running this, or it'll be when I just come in before the concert myself, just enjoy it. But I mean, that's what Flanagan's in Columbus, Ohio. That was a place where Corey Robertson ran his Chaos Beach Volleyball. I was like his the venue that he worked. I think it was like 14 outdoor courts, I want to say. That's what they had there. It had a really big building that had pool tables and then the stage for a band and stuff, real big bar and everything. But they would bring in some big name DJs. I think Alesso was one that I personally was there for and saw. I'm pretty sure like Steve Aoki, if I'm not mistaken, that has been there, and they do a lot of country concerts, but they go through and they just take down all of the nets and posts off of everything and just make it a big open area and just let everybody in. And it's just shoulder to shoulder, across there with people. And they even had a swim up bar that they put in there, and they ended up just filling in and the pool completely and just got rid of the swim up bar just because they wanted more space for people to be able to just get in for the concert, like space to be able to stand in different things, because they were just making so much money off of those. So I do agree that could be a big bonus space. We have had some people kind of reach out asking about doing something like that. It just it wasn't the right kind of like vibes from who these people were and stuff, but also just because our layout isn't. That kind of goes back to like the parking issue. We just don't have that extra access to bring in that many people for something like that.
So you got to team up with somebody who might be able to run a shuttle to your thing if they have a big parking lot or something.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Was there anything that surprised you in terms of revenue creation, difficulty, or what brought in money or what lost money when you started becoming a manager of the facility? So something that you could warn other people who are starting along their journey of building a place in there, like, hey, this didn't work out for us. I don't know why. Or this surprisingly crushed it. You go through anything like
that? Thankfully, I can't really think of anything that we tried to do where it was like, let's just trash it and move on kind of thing. Because everything, I guess I was a little bit more fortunate in the fact that it was already a successful business when I came in. So there was already lots of things ironed out. And plus Kevin is always and still around to kind of just be my mentor, help on anything. So if there's something I question on, something I hadn't done before, I used to check with him. There's been a lot of learning curves for me personally. I use YouTube a lot to figure out how to fix things or whatever, and stuff. So, or something breaks or I need another something, I take a picture of it, do my AI like search on what that image is to see where I can even buy it from and things like that. So it's definitely been just a learning curve for me just to be able to just do all of that. But I would say that really about the only thing I could say I don't like about it is like it's just there's really not like a clock out period for like me, and stuff. It's like there's because I'm the general manager, I have to run. So if something happens, if a referee doesn't show up like last night, then it's just like, all right, well, I'm not playing tonight, and I gotta go up there and just do it, and stuff. And I get done with that, then I'm getting started on my work I was gonna do for the evening at midnight or whatever. So it's so that's just the one thing. It is maybe trying to find certain steps or different things in there to be able to like, hey, these are the processes or things that if something goes wrong, this is you contact kind of thing, rather than it's just kind of all filters in to me to figure out kind of thing. So that would be honest, I guess, the one where I didn't realize how much time and coordination on different things there was to do, because it is a lot across the board. But
are there for twos tournaments? I know a lot of facility owners are like, it's we want to do it because we want to promote and push volleyball at that level, but we also have to survive as a business. But do you find that twos tournaments are great, but you just do it for the love of the future game versus the fours and sixes? Because every owner I talk to is going, hey, it's fours and sixes and we fit twos in when we can, but that's the pickiest players, the least revenue. And, it's not like a party social until the very end because people are so focused on winning when they're actually being competitive. So did you find that, or do you feel that?
Yeah, I do know our bartenders don't like the twos tournaments, or they are hopeful people who are big drinkers lose early, so they have something to do, kind of thing. So, I mean, that definitely is a thing. I think it's a little tougher for us because there are multiple locations within a 30-minute drive, 2 to 3 locations within a 30-minute drive of us, and so the options of where people can go to play, there are options. So it's one thing, I think, if there really wasn't, if we were the only place within an hour or 2-hour drive or something, then I could see we're going to be the only ones holding a sixes tournament, or only ones holding a quads tournament. But because other places are doing that, we do have to have a variety. So even though doubles isn't the biggest money generator, for sure, we still will have it on our set schedule every month, kind of like no matter what, and everyone, because everyone knows that's where it come to play, for that. Because we also, because we don't, it'll just kind of just thin out everything. If we try to do nothing but quads tournaments every weekend all the way through, people still like to go play at other places and stuff like that. So, they would just kind of get almost in a sense burn out from it, and they would, take a break from us to go someplace else. And then maybe they get help there for a little while because they've just been doing it so much at our facility. So we have a pretty good rotation of high level doubles, open level double, or, amateur level doubles, and then we'll have some pretty competitive quads. We'll have some fundraiser quads, which are, I mean, there's still rules, but it's much more laid back kind of thing. So, so for us, we have to have just that variety of things to kind of just keep things just different and changing for people.
Cool. All right, John, thank you so much for being a guest. One thing I do want to mention is that we've now got a little partnership, teamwork type thing with Grand Sands Volleyball, and we're going to be in Loveland, Ohio, running one mini camp every month. So that'll be level and gender dependent. And so we will be frequenting that. And I know Logan Weber is going to be one of the main coaches who keeps coming back home because he kind of grew up in volleyball in that facility as well. And he loves it there. But if you guys are wanting to check it out and you want to check out a big, long-term, successful facility, whether you want to go there and play, take part in our camps, go to a tournament, or just kind of see what the facility looks like and what they've done with their building and their setup outside, take a visit to Grand Sands and then say hi to John Drake. And John, I'm wondering if anybody has any facility or volleyball questions, if there's a good place for them to reach out and maybe ask you a question or maybe set up a site visit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, I literally have my phone number. My phone number is blasted on our website or anything like that, so it's not hidden or anything. So if you have a pen and paper, literally just jot down my phone number. It's 513-332-8662. And like I said, just shoot me a text. I believe the best way to get a hold of me. Obviously, I'll reply when I can. And I do know you said this was the first part of everything, and I actually am heading to Grand Sands right now to just kind of get ready for the evening and everything. So I won't be joining for the rest of it, but I really do appreciate everything and being able to talk a little bit. And again, looking forward to having you guys back out early next year.
Yeah, man. Thanks for your wisdom, and thanks for always being just so cool, down to earth, easy to work with. Yeah, it's been a pleasure knowing you for all these years in all the different capacities that we know each other and work with each other. So thanks for hopping on. Appreciate it. From our guests, they appreciate it. And yeah, guys, if you want to hear from John, go ahead and click rewind. Write down his personal phone number, which shows you the type of awesome dude that he is. Exactly. And that's it. So from us here at Better at Beach, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the episode. And if you want to be here for the live Q&As and the weekly meetings where we do this live, as well as our coaching meetings, just join the Complete Coach Academy. Head to betteratbeach.com loveland.com/coach, or just come to one of our camps in Loveland, Ohio, or wherever else we are.
Awesome.
Thanks, John.
Absolutely.
Everybody else, we'll see you on the sand.